belongs to Winston, but it wasn't a particularly memorable line. In fact, the very last line and the suddenness with which the film ends reminded me again of The Phantom Menace, in that The Phantom Menace, if you remember, this very quick, very sudden jump to end credits after the inverted commas the heroes are being celebrated in Naboo. It cut very suddenly to the Star Wars music and the credits, and this equally just ends on a very drab note with a line from Winston that's meant to be funny. It didn't raise a chuckle from me, and then it goes into the credit sequence. So yeah, I mean, it was not great to see the. I didn't mention Dan Aykroyd as well. Dan Aykroyd shows up. He mentions Class 5 vapors, referencing the first film, and he gets the line, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts," which again reminded me of the missed opportunities here, because seeing a Ghostbusters 3, a continuation from the original Ghostbusters universe, that would have been a nice line from Dan Aykroyd. His equivalent of "I'll be back" or "Hasta la vista, baby." If he turns around and "I ain't afraid of no ghost," I think that would have had people that made people smile and would have been nice to hear. Instead, it's delivered in a cameo. And it didn't really work. It's interesting talking about Dan Aykroyd, actually, because I think one of the major problems with the cast was that in the new Ghostbusters, in the reboot, each character is full of enthusiasm at all times. Even Patty, who Leslie Jones's character, who complains a lot of the time and moans a lot of the time, does so with gusto and enthusiasm. Now, in the original Ghostbusters, it was Ray. Ray was the character who had the enthusiasm, the childlike, wide-eyed Ray. And the chemistry was there because that contrasted so much with Egon's very buttoned-up, science-focused personality, and it contrasted, of course, with the hangdog, cynical Venkman. In the new film, everybody has enthusiasm at all times, and it didn't work having four enthusiastic people. Where do you go? Where do you go for the humor? Where do you go for the darkness? Also, something else that made it feel like this occurred in a different universe was the fact that what I like to call it's a Shane Black problem. Now, anybody who watches a Shane Black movie, one of the elements that I quite like in Shane Black movies is that most characters, even just characters on the periphery of the film, are witty and urbane, and even if they just have one line. If anybody remembers, I think it's Iron Man 3, where I think Shane Black wrote the scripts for that one, and there's a line where a henchman is faced with Tony Stark after being bested, and he puts his gun down and he says something like, "These guys are just too weird for me," and runs out. People have funny lines in the Shane Black universe. The problem is, the film that the new Ghostbusters takes place in seems to exist in a Shane Black universe where everybody is witty, which is fine for a Shane Black movie. In a Ghostbusters movie, if everybody's witty, that means that nobody is witty. So in the original film, it was the Ghostbusters who were the outsiders, who came up with quips, who would challenge convention. And everybody else, if you imagine anyone else that appears in the first Ghostbusters film, Walter Peck, the mayor, the librarian that's scared at the start, the chief librarian that they talk to, the couple that Venkman is testing at the very start, they're all normal people, and it was the Ghostbusters who were full of personality and full of quips. In the Ghostbusters 2016 universe, unfortunately, everybody has a quip, which makes the Ghostbusters less special and less engaging, which again was a shame. I will give props to Leslie Jones. Leslie Jones, after that awful trailer, looks like she was the problem. I have to say, when Leslie Jones showed up in this movie, it breathed life into the picture. It really did. Because up until that point, the three main characters were decidedly bland, and she really did. She had presence, and she was the only one who felt like she was a fully rounded character. So when she showed up, that gave the film a much needed boost, because it had been awkward and kind of stale up until that point. Getting towards the end now, I will say, by 1 hour and 5 minutes, I checked my watch. It got to 1 hour and 5 minutes into the film, and that's when I decided, really, actually, I've had enough now. That's the point where I could have happily left, and I can enjoy even a bad movie, but this movie, I got to this point and I thought, okay, this is probably as much as I'm going to get out of this movie. I've got the measure of the film now. I did not feel compelled like I had to sit there and watch what happened. The final battle sequence is very CGI heavy. Like I say, no weight to the drama, and compared to the original, nowhere near the same threat, and nowhere near the same character drama. Instead, it was, what happens to a lot of films these days, is it turned into a large CGI fest, lots of slow motion, lots of shouting, just an empty light show. Which again, the Ghostbusters I saw recently on Red Letter Media, only 1 minute 23 seconds of proton packs in the original Ghostbusters, whereas there was a lot of proton pack towards the end, including new proton packs, new traps, new technology. I didn't find it particularly exciting, the ending of the film, nor any of the film, nor did I find it engaging. This, I would give it, of star ratings, I would give it 2 stars. The film itself has performed quite well. I think it had an opening weekend in the States of 46 million, which is not to be sniffed at, but it missed out on the top spots, to, the number 1 spot in the charts, to The Secret Life of Pets, which I haven't really heard much talk about, The Secret Life of Pets, but it kept Ghostbusters from the number 1 spot. If a Ghostbusters 3 had been made, and made correctly, I don't think we'd be talking about it being beaten by The Secret Life of Pets. I think a lot of people would have engaged with a third and final story from the original Ghostbusters cast. Rest in peace, Harold Ramis. We're not going to see that film anytime soon. And unfortunately, I have to say, rest in peace, Ghostbusters, because if, as the studio is stating, this is the success they were hoping for, then the extended universe, the Ghostbusters extended universe, will be on its way, and we will get further and further removed from the original until Ghostbusters is probably rebooted again, like the Star Wars universe will be, and by that point, will anybody really care? I don't know. Anyway, a long review, but that's because it's a film I really do feel passionately about. Please send your comments, queries and questions to the email address, and until next time, this is Dr. Loomis signing off. Thank you.